Je hlavním poradcem pro oblast vzdušných schopností společnosti Saab Aeronautics a bývalým testovacím pilotem letounu Gripen. U stíhacího letectva strávil více než 24 let, nalétal 2300 letových hodin na více než 20 různých typech letadel. Většinu své letové praxe strávil na letounech Vigen a Gripen. V roce 2007 přešel do letového zkušebního střediska Gripenů, absolvoval výcvik v americké národní škole zkušebních pilotů v Mojave v Kalifornii a v námořní škole zkušebních pilotů Spojených států v Partition River v Marylandu. V roce 2019 nastoupil do společnosti Saab Aeronautics. Jussi Halmetoja. Jussi, mohl byste se nám v krátkosti představit?
Yes, but thank you first of all for being here at Cafe Kupka. It's my pleasure and an honor to be here. So I'm Jussi Halmetoja, working for Saab Aeronautics in Sweden since the last 4 years, where I work with fighter capability as an expert and an advisor. Before that, 24 years in this flight suit, flying different jets in Swedish Air Force. I've been working on developmental tests as a test pilot, working on some weapon programs and some requirements before joining Saab.
Jsou letouny Gripen CZ, které používá Armáda České republiky, schopné nebo stále schopná platforma do budoucna?
Yes, sir. I think it's coming up to 17-18 years of service in the Czech Air Force, and as we see it, it's getting towards half time of the platform life. And along with that, with every fighter capability, we have an upgrade program. So we are now in another midlife step to modernize the capability. Swedish Air Force will fly until 2035 plus and onwards. So we are now introducing enhanced radar performance, enhanced electronic warfare, and enhanced weapons capability. So also with the great availability of aircraft we have, which has been demonstrated by also Czech Air Force, we see great potential for many decades to come.
Představme si Gripen C, jak se vlastně pomocí upgradeů může přiblížit Gripenu linie E, být kompatibilní a doplňovat se ve službě.
Yes, so that's a very good question, and maybe it's our biggest marketing flaw in the world of Gripen is that the Gripen C and Gripen E look the same. Inside, the two aircraft are completely different with whole new sensors, whole new electronic warfare, whole new capabilities, so entirely different type of aircraft, even though it looks very much the same. So introducing all these new sensors, all these new capabilities, and then how we network everything together. That is how we create the fighting capability for the next generation. The second part of your question was how to kind of transition capability and collaborate. So Swedish Air Force is doing a lot of studies and also ambitions already now how to cooperate Gripen C and Gripen E with similar network systems and everything else that you need in terms of logistics and otherwise. So that transition will be very smooth and very functional.
Máte zkušenosti s Gripenem C i E, to Ečko je vlastně jakoby těžší, větší. Jaký je rozdíl v ovládání těch dvou verzí?
So when comparing Gripen C and Gripen E, I'd like to really talk about two different aspects. First of all, for me as a pilot when flying it. So flying the two aircraft are very similar in terms of using the cockpit, even though the cockpit looks different. But for me as a pilot now with more fuel, more power, more everything, I get access to a full flight envelope, higher speed, more range, endurance, time in the air. At once when I take off. So that's the first aspect. Then the second aspect is the tactical operations, what I can do with this new capability in terms of fantastic new radar, state-of-the-art electronic warfare. So we've taken the best electronic warfare we could find and build it around Gripen. So really good capable kit. But then how everything gets networked with different Gripens and different platforms in the air. And it's hard to explain the beauty of that, but that's really how today you create the combat air capability in how you network things, rather than being the highest or the fastest and so.
Co je pro pilota, který přichází ze staršího na novější model Gripenu, nejsložitějším úkolem?
So controlling the two different jets are very similar. So that's the mechanics of flight dynamics. So that's very similar. And that's more or less for any aircraft, any fighter platforms in the world today. The challenge is to transit from one to the other is how now you get access to this new capability. And because of new things, new technology, you have to now use that technology to its maximum benefit, which means that you have to learn a new way of fighting, so new tactics. All the sensors in the whole, say, foreship of Gripen are working together. Everything is networked and connected. So if you go about and do conventional fighter tactics as we've done in the past, you might not be able to use the system in its optimum performance. So learning the new bits of pieces and to do that in an optimum maximum way, that's the biggest challenge today, I would say.
Zástupci Ministerstva obrany a Armády České republiky hovoří v poslední době o potřebě pořízení stíhačky 5. generace. Jaký je váš pohled na tuto problematiku, respektive jak je Saab a Gripen E, jak se staví k této koncepci?
That's a very excellent question, and as we see it in media all the time with the 5th gen and stealth and all that stuff, people talk and write about. So the concept of fighter generations, it's different theories over the years. So the recent one, which everyone refers to, is one that's actually been produced by some US aircraft design authorities, such as Lockheed and Grumman. So to me and to many others, the 4th, 5th, 6th gen, what that is a list, an attribute of different technologies. And so it's about various bits and pieces, how the aircraft looks like and how it can behave. For us, more important is actually the capability that the technology brings and not focusing on the technology as itself. So how do you produce the 4th or 5th or 6th gen mission rather than technology? So comparing a little bit on how our standpoint with Gripen E on 5th gen is that we can most certainly do all the mission sets for a 5th gen mission, even though we don't have all the attributes for a 5th gen technology as is the common kind of perception. And I must say, Lockheed and Grumman, they've been triumphant in launching this into, because everyone is using it. But just to get apples and pears comparison, what is really important, technology or what the technology brings in terms of capability, and we focus on capability.
Co by podle vás mělo splňovat příští letadlo pro Armádu České republiky z pohledu, řekněme, operační dostupnosti a operační schopnosti?
Yeah, on point question, I think, sir, and its capability, because that's in key focus here. So capability, I'll talk about availability in a moment, but for me, capability can be categorized in an easy way. I'll come to that, but ultimately, first of all, is the requirements of an individual nation. So requirements and concept of Czech armed forces, Czech nation and Air Force. What is the critical mission? And that can only Czech Air Force answer. But I think it's air policing. So that's one. So capability is really survivability. How do you produce survivability to avoid and deny, deceive, defend against all threats? Then it's about lethality. So weapons and electronic warfare, so kinetic and non-kinetic lethality. Without weapons, the platform is useless. Flexibility, so here we come into any mission from anywhere. The ability to disperse your bases from out of Čáslavi to other places. Can you do it or can you not do it with Gripen or F-35 or others? You can answer that question. Then it's about other things, availability. And if you don't have available fighter resources, you cannot fight. And it's from one air base, having aircraft in the air ready to be flown rather than in the maintenance hangar. To be able to train, affordability. I'm a guy in a flight suit, so I don't normally talk about money. But I think our air forces deserve value for what they've been paying, what they pay for in terms of capability. So available aircraft and all our taxpayers, to be honest, deserve value for investment. So that's one way of looking at capability. So availability and what can you do? I think that summarizes the question quite well.
Čeho všeho je Gripen E ve srovnání s F-35 schopen a naopak v čem je lepší F-35?
This is an interesting question in the sense of that we have to go back into what mission or what capabilities a platform has been designed to do. So F-35, it's I'm sure a wonderful capability in terms of air-to-ground joint strike fighter, because that's the name and that's what it's been produced to do. So the mission to in a coalition with command and control support, fighter top cover, to go in deep and launch medium-range, short-range weapons against the target over enemy territory. That is the mission of an F-35, and I'm sure it's very optimized to do that. Then we have to ask us, is that the mission that a nation is determined to do? Is that the mission for Swedish armed forces? No, certainly not. Or will that be the mission of Czech Air Force to go and bomb something somewhere else? You can always ask yourself that. Gripen E has been designed to do air-to-air missions, air policing missions, to defend a nation's borders and keep them safe. And in terms of how to do other bits and pieces of mission sets, F-35 is strong in one part and weaker in others, while Gripen E is strong in others and weaker maybe in others. But what it's not been designed to do. So it's about your doctrine, your concept, your critical mission for your platform. Those have to be taken into consideration when you look at strength and weaknesses for any platform and any capability.
Seděl jste někdy v kokpitu F-35, respektive měl jste možnost mluvit s piloty a vyměňovat si názory na tento letoun?
Yes, so I have had the pleasure of flying the F-35 simulator. Also been taking part of some advanced tactical simulation where F-35 simulators were flown together with other platforms such as Eurofighter and Typhoon and others. So I've been lucky enough to get insight into that.
V diskusích občas zazní, že F-35 měla úspěšnost v simulovaných soubojích 1:20. Tak mě napadá, jestli vlastně podobné simulace probíhají u Gripenu nebo jiných letounů.
Yes, so tactical simulation, first I'll talk a little bit about that, and that's very important because all advanced fighter developers, or even nations and air forces, they do a lot of tactical simulations because this is where you learn about tactics, you can produce that, evolve and train, but also in the earlier steps you can create your fighter design, so put fighter people, men and women in the cockpits and see and design the capability you want to achieve. Then secondly, tactical simulation, you always have to remember what is the purpose of tactical simulation and what was the aim and objective of that specific simulation that you did. So all these things get out of concept of one single kill ratio of figure of 1:20. So we didn't exactly know what was going on, but fairly looks of course impressive. Then operationally, I would say today, if you're looking at dogfight kill ratios, the fight is most certainly moving from the short range into a medium to long range because of new sensors and longer range weapons and so on. So in terms of how important a dogfight simulation would be, you can always question. But again, we didn't know the objective of this one. For Gripen, we do a lot of tactical simulations in all capabilities, and in many of them, depending on what we want to achieve and do, we have gotten some really good results as well. Don't really want to give away any numbers, but some really impressive results. Next thing, we want to achieve those results in LiveX in the air as well, but that's the next few years to come.
Můžeme přiblížit, jaké zbraňové systémy může Gripen dnes v současnosti a jaký je třeba plán budoucna?
So yes, weapons and equipment. It's actually if you have a platform without weapons and sensors, it's of no use to you. We can all agree on that. So you need to have capable weapons and sensors. And one of the observations we've seen in Ukraine war, currently the ongoing war, is that many of the weapons are missing their targets. So we need to do something to improve that. So with the new concept of Gripen E, not only the aircraft, the whole 4-ship or 6-ship or whatever you have, even a 2-ship, are networked. So also weapons are being networked. So you have longer range weapons with network. So you can launch weapons, update weapons while they are flying against their targets to new coordinates, and you will get a lot of different information. So that is one enabler to get better probability of intercept and actually hit right targets at the right time. Similarly, the whole avionics system, I'm talking about networks again here, allows you a flexibility to now walk away from conventional fighter tactics where you can fire a missile and another platform, another Gripen can support that missile while you can move away and again from a threat and so on and so on. So looking at new, flexible, smart, collaborative ways of using the fighter tactics, air-to-air, air-to-ground, surveillance, reconnaissance missions and everything. So this is, again, the challenge, a new challenge, but also a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to be efficient in the future.
Má být Gripen E poslední variantou té řady, nebo se plánuje s nějakými dalšími typy typu Gripen G, H?
As Saab Aeronautics, or Saab as a company, as an aircraft design authority, a developer, I think we've been producing aircraft of various sorts for about 100 years, if not more. And that ambition and work will most certainly continue. Whether that will be a Gripen H or J or K or something else is now an ongoing study with Sweden. So most certainly there will be a continuation to our effort in producing fighter capability in some sort, individually or in collaboration with other nations. Exactly how that's going to look like, we don't have all the answers to yet.
Jussi, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my pleasure.